We'll start the recording. All right, so I already shared a little bit about the structure for today, but we have a lot of people on this call and it's growing. So again, really short intros, drop in 15, 20 seconds if you've already done your intro. If you haven't done an intro yet, this is your chance to spend about 3 minutes doing a little bit deeper about your project. As a facilitator today, I'm just going to kind of keep everyone on ping. So if you've gone on too long, I'm just going to mute you. And if you got muted, then we'll pass it on. So I'm just going to try to be gentle with that. All right, so with all that being said, we'll start a round of just the quick intros. I'll send it over to Mark to say hi, and then you can pass it to whoever you'd like.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Some of you already know me. I'm part of something called the Valhalla Movement or Valhalla Farms up in Montreal, 88-acre property, building community here online and physically transforming property over the last 10 years. So really excited about a bunch of stuff, really geeking out on storytelling, marketing, finance, a bunch of other things. Yeah, and I'll pass it off to Caitlin.
Mark. My name is Caitlin Archambault. I am founder of Open Future Coalition. We recently launched a platform called Open Impact. We essentially help on-the-ground efforts connect with one another, collaborate more effectively, and connect with multi-capital resources, so capital, skills, and knowledge based on measurable impact. And we also help those efforts connect with existing capital markets to regeneratively fund their projects. I'm very much looking forward to the evolution of this group. I will pass it along to Sahana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sahana, and I am a DAO tool builder. So I don't have an actually eco-village project, but I basically help DAOs out full-time with onboarding and other streamlining of processes. I'll keep it short. How about John?
Thank you. You caught me with my mouth full. I'm
sorry about that.
Yeah, it's lunchtime here, so I'm grabbing a little lunch. Although my wife and I are in Canada right now, we're connected with the project in Vilcabamba, Ecuador, to create Finca Sagrada as a community project and a regenerative sovereign watershed in the Vilcabamba Valley. And I'm also working with the Seeds Currency Working Group to build a family of currencies from the Seeds platform that can be used locally and across the world. And I will pass it on to Neil.
I just got here. Are we doing openings?
Yep, like just 20-second intros for, yep.
Yep, I'm here to support the group in terms of getting 12 pilot projects in by March 20. And who hasn't gone?
How about you pass it to Caitlin?
Caitlin.
Oh, I have gone, unless there's another kid.
I meant to say Jamaica, sorry, because
I meant to say Jamaica.
We're interchanging.
Sorry, Caitlin. Yeah.
I'm Jamaica Stevens. I'm up here in a regenerative farm in the northeastern Washington state. I'm co-founder of Open Future Coalition along with Katie. My work as a social systems architect is to support communities of purpose, practice, and place. I've been both working on the ground and in digital community building, particularly mobilizing cross-sectoral and sectoral movements of change. So that's a lot of our work along with the platform, is just to support coalition building and sort of events and programming and facilitating, getting as many people coordinated and moving in common as possible to mobilize at this time. So I'm here to help support culture and design of how we kind of go about all of this together. Thanks. I'll pass it to Brandon.
Hello, everyone. Here in Bali, Indonesia. It's pretty late here for me, but we have a company called DESA. We do consulting for a lot of these different types of eco-village projects. Part of this collective, we like to try and verify, get it narrowed down to these 12 projects, and then are they set to go to receive funding, and then where are we going to put this funding into some of these projects? So excited to be a part of this, and excited to keep meeting more of you. And I'll pass it to pass it to Elliot.
Hi, friends. First time here, so I'll maybe share a little more, but working on impact project called Global Unity. Big picture is imagine humanity, we're really working as one cohesive organism. Where's the platform that facilitates that? Doesn't exist, so we have to build it. But again, projects or platforms, of course, will never be enough. And so it has two branches, both an ecosystem of platforms and a movement building strategy. And I guess just some high level, like I'm not directly working on a regen community, but trying to support those who are. I just had a great conversation with Reiki about, I guess, weaving together very much in the same spirit. I hope, I aspire to be in the same spirit as Katie in Jamaica, trying to build bridges between different projects working to do good. And so honored to be here with all of you. Happy to share more, but that's kind of a high level. And I will pass to Adriel.
Hi everyone, my name is Adriel. I'm working with a project called Dear Wise Earth Living Labs, which is a regenerative ecosystem that they're building in one of the beautiful hearts of Mexico. So yeah, my role is mostly management, agile consultants, and leading together other members and getting everyone involved. And yeah, it's a little bit about me. I will pass it to Sydney. I can also pass it to Nadeem.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you all. Thank you for being here. And I'm so happy to see some familiar faces. Greetings, George. Good to see you, man. And Joey and Kelly, so good to see you all. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm here to presenting the Dear Wise Earth organization and especially the living lab we are setting up here in Mexico. It's kind of a big building where it's in a protected jungle area, far away of any civilization, and there we are setting up a hub for the regenerative movement, and yeah, to provide us a home where we have 10 different labs there where we want to do a research on water, soil, and cosmic sensing, and medicine, geospatial observations and predictions for the future. Like, we have access to amazing technologies, and we want to provide these technologies for the regenerative movement and provide a home for everyone here and in the wider ecosystem. So I'm honored to be here with you, and thank you so much all. I pass to if not Sydney, then let's hear Kelly, Joe. I miss your voice.
You want to go first? Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Joe. I'm Joe from Kelly and Joe. A lot of people know me as. But we're here with our brother Will, and we're in Costa Rica at a lovely place called Bodhi Tree in Nosara. Mark, good to see you again, brother. Nadeem, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so we are stewards of a vision for a land project called Abundancia. We put in a letter of intent to purchase 1,400 acres just north of Manuel Antonio, and the sellers decided to go into contract with a different piece of land. So now we are open to the universe telling us where we are meant to plug in our vision. And in the meantime, just networking with incredible, beautiful human beings like this one over here to pull together all the pieces of the regenerative movement and create an incredible eco neighborhood full of all of our favorite people and create an example of regenerative development for the world to model.
And I'm Kelly. Hello, everyone. Our company is New Earth Development, so we help with putting in regenerative biophilic infrastructure into eco-communities along with new paradigm operation systems, co-governance models, education centers, healing, and help other people create their financial models and all the other things you need to learn to be able to do development projects. And then we're also doing our own development project here in Costa Rica that we would love people to collaborate on. And like Joe said, to build a model for how we can live for the new earth.
Passing to me.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Will Blakey. I'm representing the Universe Spiritual Ministry. It's a conscious and regenerative community, connecting other communities that share the same vision, that want to operate within universal natural common law. So what I'm discovering is that we can provide the legal framework for sovereignty and freedom within our villages across the globe, and use HIFA's DHO as a way to decentralize and govern ourselves and manage our treasury and the other things. So I'm here as a member of the Alliance and also representing Starseed Village, one of the potential villages for this cohort, and also gathering other potential villages like Abundancia here and some other people that are in this call like Nico, who is the one I'll pass the mic to now.
Thank you, Will. I'm incredibly honored to be here. I am Nico. I'm one of the two co-founders of La Tierra, which is our project is called, along with Roxy. La Tierra is a 430-acre property in Costa Rica that we're willing to build as a village of villages, really. We're developing this idea a little bit following Burning Man principles of like creating the infrastructure, developing parts of it, and then allowing other people who don't want to go through the hassle of like, acquiring land and doing all the things to come and build with us so we can establish interoperable principles. And so a little bit like this coalition online, but in the physical. Also co-founder of the Design Science Studio, an incubator for the art of the Regenerescence, co-created with the Magnus Institute. And also one of the co-founders of Rebuild, which has turned into a gathering place both online and offline for the regenerative village movement. So really excited to be here and to contribute and bring in and weave with all these communities and ideas and things that are emerging and that we're putting together. And I will pass it on to Elliot. Have you gone already? Let's see who haven't. Mark, I don't think I heard it.
I went earlier. I think Sydney hasn't gone.
Sydney haven't been responding. Sydney,
Hey
are you there?
guys. Wonderful to
Oh,
see
yeah,
you
great.
and meet new people. Thank you, Nico. I'm here representing Permatours, which is a traveling permaculture and sustainable construction tour that was funded by a Seeds crypto grant. We're in the process of launching a marketplace where people will be able to transact with their debit, credit card, or Seeds. And I'm also very much wanting to support with fundraising through NFTs that have a powerful utility. So happy to have those conversations offline. And yeah, Tucker, have you gone yet?
I've not. Thank you, Sid. My name is Tucker, and I'm here representing a project called Tioga. And we are working with existing landowners up here in the New England area to kind of turn some of these generational farmland into intentional communities. We also have a network of like 50 some odd people ready to jump into community, and we're trying to fundraise a couple different larger scale properties with a few hundred acres. So we're really excited to see what this Regen Civics Incubator can help us do in that process.
Maybe Lucian, then George, and then we'll dive in today. So there's time to keep moving our operations forward. But epic intros, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hello from Benares Beach in Ibiza at sunset. Lucian Tarnowski here representing United Planet, which is a immersive reality game where we time travel into our future selves, where the projects and visions we're working on have become a reality. And it's all about storytelling from that place. And our hypothesis is we can build deeper trust in communities, deeper collaborations by going to the end state and reverse engineering from that. And so we run these games through the year and have different topics at different events. And our thinking is this could become a storytelling layer for the accelerator. and delighted to be here and get this party started, Reiki.
Epic. Thanks, Lucian. And you passed it to George.
Okay, so you know, I'm a radical sociologist by training and troublemaker by passion. Was a movement catalyst from the 1960s when I was organizing the student movement. And I'm just so stoked by seeing all the young people here on this call working on things that I've been working for in all my life. And I didn't really hope that there will be some day when there will be decentralized autonomous organization, a powerful movement. So now I'm not just remembering, but more importantly, I'm engaged as much with as much energy that is left, and there's still some. And what I'm presently doing is I'm the director of research at Future Hall, the Center of Action Research for Evolutionary Emergence. And what we are doing is a project called Place-Based Movements, Regenerative Movements for Change, Meet Web3 and DAO. So there will be a big event on the 20th, 21st of this month, the solstice. And I don't want to take too much time. That's why I sent in the email to all of you a brief description of what is this about. And if I will have another moment later, then I will also say a few words about how we can collaborate. That the whole thing was inspired by my following the work of Reiki and the whole Reiki and the whole Regen network for a couple of months, and was looking forward the moment when we can actually co-create something. So I'm here and excited and available. I think I was the last one, no?
You were, yes. I was just having a recent call with Jamaica and Caitlin explaining how our calls are like medicine. So when we're talking about having people go back and watch them, it's so nourishing actually hearing all the incredible things that everyone's doing. And it's hope building and confidence building when the rest of our narrative out there is World War III nuclear apocalypse bullshit. It's so nice that we can come here and like have these like, nope, these are all the practical things that are happening, that we're moving together. We've got the team together, Team Human keeps showing up. So it's really nourishing. And I love this, you know, medicine that these calls are. So thank you. All right, so what I'm gonna do real quick is play the facilitator hat coordinating role and just go over some quick next step agenda items for us, reorient what we're doing here. Then get into Gitcoin grants, and that's available right now. Talk about that a little bit and kind of weave things together. And we'll leave plenty of time, so I'll probably take 6 minutes. So I'll have the last half hour for any other agenda items that you have. If you have any, please just add them to the chat, and we can have some open dialogue for the rest of the call. If you have any changes or amendments to that proposal for the rest of today's call, also just add that to the chat and we can leave it. All right, let's bring our orientating. So this is again what this document here serves to do for us. Let me share this link with you all just in case you don't have it. And I'll also share my agenda for you all here. Cool, so where are we at? Where's our roadmap? March. We're still looking for crowd pooling and organizing our organization itself. So what is the Regen Civics Incubator? What does that look like? That is our goal for March. So I know, Neil, you mentioned to pick the 12 projects. That's actually not slated to actually have to do till June. However, we need to be getting that done right now still. So that's the first thing on our agenda item for us to do is we need to fill out our, whatever we're calling this here, knowledge base. So far, not very many of us have added the proposed projects. There's a bunch here already, but they're also not filled out. So if you come in here, actually some of them are filled out. Good job, we're getting there. but a lot of them are not. So this is the first step before we can even pick the 12 projects, is to put the projects that you actually would like to be part of the consideration and proposed here, just write proposed next to them. And then when we actually go through the official picking process, we'll update these ones and have our 12 projects officially picked here. But put your proposal for what you'd like to see for the project in the space. What does it actually consist of? Let's see if there's a really good example. I'm super judging you all right now, so bear with me. Okay, cool. Here's a good example. So we want a picture, we want a video, a real quick video, 3 minutes about what the project is. If this is just you sitting in front of a camera talking, great, but present what the project is if they don't already have a nice one. And then some stuff like this. This probably could have a little bit more information in my opinion, but more about what the project is, what's the vision, who are you looking for to join you? Because remember, this is where all the people who are coming that want to be part of projects, want to be part of this system change or projects themselves, for them to explore what the project is, who it's about, and if they want to be a part of it or not. Every one of these land-based projects needs contributors. Why would they want to join you? So this is your space to present that. So this needs to get filled out. The second thing that's not quite filled out for us yet is art organizations. So a lot of them are here. If they're not here, you can add yours down here. And actually, I'll show you how to do that. You all will have editing access. If you don't have editing access, you can come up here to where it says contributing to the guide, and there's a link for you to get editing access. But anyway, so once you're in the editing mode, you can add new pages just by clicking this plus. And then when you're inside them, you can add all sorts of new columns by doing this. Pretty straightforward. So anyway, fill out the projects that you are proposing and fill out your organization and what it brings. An example of that is this is seeds. They're saying, what are we bringing to these community projects? We're bringing the ability to make new currencies, et cetera, et cetera. What does that look like? How can projects get value from you? That's really what it's about. So projects are coming here and saying, hey, these are the organizations that are here to help me. What support do we offer organizations? Or projects rather, that are out there doing systems change. So this is from our lens, our organizations. So get these filled out as well. Because that's what we're going to use to pick who's part of the Regen Civics Alliance itself. So this is what we're planning on doing March, right after the equinox, is going through the process of selecting what organizations are actually part of the Alliance and putting Jamaica and Katie on the spot. Caitlin, sorry, they've been doing incredible work on this for the last couple of years, probably even longer, on how to get ecosystems to organize and coordinate. What are some principles around that? And they can go through a couple facilitated sessions helping us structure ourselves as well. So that is our goal for March, is organizing our alliance so that we're clear, so that we're actually coherent in being able to help these projects once we select which ones we're going to work with. Any questions on that roadmap, any amendments to it, anything that we'd want to add as far as that kind of overview of what we're doing here? Are we all on the same page? Yeah, Elliot.
So folks like, I don't know, I think Joe Brewer and maybe not Neil Spackman, but these are like real, for me, other regenerative superheroes. I was just texting with Joe, didn't know if he should be on this call, or is this primarily like in these kinds of gatherings, or are these mainly for those that are kind of leading actual regenerative village spaces? Just because it felt like these were two people who are great fits for this community.
Yeah, definitely. I know both of them. They're incredible. I haven't gone through the effort of inviting them. We can. So who's great for these calls right now? People who are doing step 5, i.e. organizations who are working on helping projects who are doing regeneration in the world. So this is the organizations providing tools, resources, learning, whatever it is to help projects, not necessarily projects themselves, if that makes sense. So yes, definitely invite them because they are doing that. But they're also doing projects, which I think we can actually have their projects proposed here. So if anyone wants to work with anyone that are like, yes, they're doing a super regenerative project, like they should be a great example of this, great. Propose them here and give a pitch of why they're a great project, right? So I think both of that is a big yes for me.
And what would be the best way to, what would be the best way to weave them in?
That's a really good question for us to figure out in our organization design, how we start growing. Right now, it's been kind of a hopefully beneficial dictatorship, with me just kind of inviting people that I know are doing great things. And some of you have gone through the effort of just inviting other people too. So that's kind of how it's worked right now. That's not a great model, but I think it's okay for right now until we form. So I'd say for the next 2 calls, have it be open that anyone here who's just like, yep, this person needs to be a part of these conversations, definitely add them. And they could be part of these early facilitating and, you know, forming conversations. My opinions, unless anyone has anything to add to what I've said, if they have a better model to propose or any responses to what's just been said so far, please feel free to share. And I can go on to the next one. Jamaica.
I had a housekeeping question. Can you please go back and show again where you do the edit so that we can be additive to that space? Can you just go back and show me the actual place? Because I wasn't able to find it earlier.
Where it says org members contributing, so you can click here, right here. So it says, maybe I'll make it bold, maybe give some celebration things on the side, but right here, switch to editor mode. So when you come here, just click on this button and then give you the screen that you see that I have.
Okay, thank you very much.
You are welcome. Anything else?
Got a quick question over here. To clarify, Reiki, you said, brother, that you're looking more for projects that are supporting regenerative development projects rather than land projects themselves. Is that correct?
I'm just talking about who to invite to these calls right now.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously looking, well, not obvious, because so to clarify, we're looking for both. Yes.
Okay.
We are looking for the 12 projects, but what I'm saying is let's focus on bringing the projects in after we've organized our foundation, and our foundation is the groups who are supporting projects.
I see.
Got it. Through it step by step. So step 5 is where we're still at, you know, forming us, and then step 6 is then focusing on bringing the projects in. But you know, we're infinite beings, and most of us are actually doing projects and doing the projects that are supporting projects. So
that's
yeah, probably the best people to be here now, and that's most of us here right now anyway. So yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Anything else at all to bring to this right now? Okay, so then bringing us back to the timeline. All right, so once we actually get all of our organizations added, then we're going to go through that forming process, and then we're going to try to officialize, you know, what RCI is officialize. That's a new word I made up right now. Go with me. By the end of this month. So that's our next immediate step. Let's get the projects up, because right after that, we'll be picking the 12 projects with a goal of at least by June. We've already have them picked. Those projects have gone through a couple steps themselves. So actually, once we form, we'll probably want to move up the timeline of when we pick the 12 projects. We could probably even do that in April. So that June is really when the projects are ready to accept crowd pooling. Because then we can plan for July to start doing all the crowd pooling for the projects. And that could just be a 1-month stint. We put a lot of marketing and energy and storytelling into sharing that in July, so that by August, we can actually do the project festivals. A lot of these projects are in the Northern Hemisphere, and that works really good for them in that time frame. For the projects in the Southern Hemisphere, if they don't want to do it in August, then they can mirror this and they can do theirs in March of next year. So does that kind of general overview make sense? Does anyone want to add anything to this? Actually, just why I'm adding more is we're forming right now, and there's 2 things that are alive. Is one, there's the Gitcoin grants rounds that starting right now. We apply for 2 of them, climate solutions and longevity, and I want to build one for Regen Civics. So I'm going to go through the process of our alliance and organization itself, setting up a grant in Gitcoin and in Pomelo. So that's 2 different ecosystems that we're super aligned with that we can get some funding from. But both of them are running right now. So I'm putting together a work stream for people who want to actually work on putting this grant together. Which goes with my last step is, George, you did a perfect model. Use that email thread that we just set up today to present any work streams that you're looking for other people to join. And there's a few work streams that we're putting together right now. One is these grants. So if you want to be part of the team that's helping set up the grants for Regen Civics itself, awesome. I'm leading that right now. I'm going to be working on that. Let me know if you want to be a part of it. Otherwise, you know, it's going to happen. Second is the crowd pooling rather platform. So this is something we are going to crowdfund for, but it's the crowd pooling platform, which is what we've talked about a couple of times, but it's the platform for groups to come together and say, look, we need land, we need money, we need these roles filled, etc., and be able to talk about all the resources they need as a project, and for one platform to be able to be hosting that. So it's kind of like Kickstarter for regenerative projects, where you're raising way more than money, you're raising everything you need so that anyone can contribute. So we are going to actually, since that platform doesn't exist, this is one of the things that Regen Civics itself could be part of launching, right? So that's another work stream that's happening right now. And then if you have any other work stream, feel free to bring it up in this call and to formalize that in the email thread by sending up an email. Okay. Oh, yes, and open impact. I actually wanted to give you space at the end of this call to share a little bit about the platform you guys are using, because I think it'll be perfect for coordinating a lot of what we're doing here. And I think it's super relevant, and I'd love for you guys to share that. And did I have anything else? So that's it. That's everything I wanted to share about next steps and how we can move forward. So that's all that I have today. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Literally anything that I shared about the roadmap or where we're going. Mark, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm just like, and I'm imagining maybe others feel similarly. It's like, I'm trying to figure out the scope at which I play in this. And what I mean by scope of which I play is like, this is such an open-ended thing, like, and it feels so difficult for me to nail down what step one would look like. Like, it's like I can fill out all the details of Valhalla and the project and all these different things, and you know, I could come up with a litany of things that we could raise money for and why I think it's valuable and a bunch of different components. And I guess I'm like trying to figure out at what scale should I do that? Like, you know, okay, it's like, oh, maybe there's this like $50,000 project that I think would yield this particular result and have this particular impact. And that feels more reasonable to me than just kind of, I don't know, I guess trying to explain it in such a large vision, because there's so many moving pieces, there's so many layers to it. And so I can imagine others on the call possibly feel similarly, right? It's like, what portion of my project do I put forward here that I, you know, think that we can use these funds to do, and then, you know, want to participate in this and then on my personal case, it's like, there's a piece of me that's like in like the incubator, the Regen Civics side. And then there's a piece of me that's like Valhalla, and then just the mix between those two things. So I feel like, yeah, I feel like there's my own sense. And you know, generally when I feel something, it seems like other people probably feel something similar, is like, how do I engage fully with this? Right. And I'm wondering if others feel, you know, might have similar questions.
So I was playing facilitator, which might sound like I was also playing the master of knowing everything. So I don't want this to be a dialogue back and forth between me. So thank you, Jamaica, for raising your hand, and let her respond.
Or I feel like Katie and I have offered to host next session for a bit of support with sort of the underlying organizing patterns that I think we're also just sort of jumping in and, like you, Mark, kind of feeling our way through what's in motion, kind of like double dutch, like, okay, how do we best play? What's already going? I don't want to be redundant. I want to be additive. I want to find my right fit, kind of sensing the space really rapidly. And so I think that one of the things we were hoping to offer is sort of a process to kind of name some organizing patterns and kind of follow living systems patterns to help us sort of orient. And I have a really great framework that we had called Participatory Commons that kind of lays out a good initial template of sort of how do you create membranes of participation and kind of define, I don't want to say roles, but functions and kind of scope, and kind of basically map it out visually where you can kind of see this thing along with the words in the way that you've done an incredible body of work, Reiki, like organizing all these key like all these key components. I sometimes think if you can see a visual map, it's like, here's the ways I can play. Here's the scope of different parts of the project or like the initiative. You know, here's some underlying patterns that we're going to match to make sure what we're building is based on an emergent paradigm and a more natural living systems paradigm, and not old architectures, because we're comfortable there and that's what we know. But we're really building this from the foundation of a different like organizing principles and patterns. And if we follow that map, I think that some of that kind of self-organizing, coordinative, but distributed, like sense-making organism can start to form, and not like an organization, but a living organism that's dynamic and agile, that all of us are sort of co-developing. And then I think we'll be able to better orient to finding a right fit, because I have the same experience where I'm like, I get it, and I'm trying to figure out where to jump in. So I think what we were hoping is next time to do a little session that helps kind of orient a little better. And then I think we'll be able to see more clearly what part we have, what, you know, what like phase do we come in, what's the scale, how do I reach, what's our through line of kind of social DNA and protocols for how we want to co-lead and have circular leadership really guide this whole process. So I think that I have a sense that might help a little bit. I know it helps someone like me, and maybe it helps others too. So that's just a suggestion of a way we could kind of maybe help orient this a little bit for those of us still catching up.
And to step into my role representing Haifa, this is what we want to bring to this alliance, is then after we go through this organization design process and we know how we want to organize, then crystallize it in an actual organization structure. So, you know, I'm going to be representing Regen Civics and creating one of the very first DAOs for Regen Civics itself. So this is when we can go through and find all the circles that we have set up. And in our context, actually, circles will be all of the organizations that we all are. So this is where we're going to be able to see every organization that each one of us as an alliance member of Regen Civics exists. And then you can click on it and see all the different roles and quests and everything else that's happening inside that organization all in one place. So roles being like, how do people contribute to you? So we can have, so basically we could have one landing page that everyone's like, yep, we love Regenerative Civilizations. We want to be a part of it. You know, it's a big mission. Like, how do I contribute? They can show up here, look at all of our different organizations, be like, oh, yep, this organization's calling to me. Click on it and then see how that then group makes decisions. So within every circle, let me actually show you what this looks like because it's cool. Oh, let's go back down here. Anchor circle.
I feel like there's so much wisdom in this, in what you're showing us. And I would like, it's like, I would love like a call where there's an orientation on how Haifa works specifically.
So I made a great video I'll share with all of you if you want.
That would
and
be
go
great.
All of this capacity, which is great. So actually then I'm not going to do that now. I'll let you all just watch the video because it's way more thorough. But long story short is once we go through the organization design process, then I want to crystallize our organization here. And then we can actually be distributing voice and distributing tokens for people who are contributing. And then actually having that index vehicle we've been talking about. And then it's all set up. So this is where I think the real coordination is going to come from. At least it's our thesis. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent 4 years building these tools. You know, so our thesis is what's preventing us or not helping us coordinate effectively is we don't have, you know, a coordination tool like this to be able to support it. So that would be kind of the next steps. And Mark, I'm feeling you. And that's why we're only doing these calls once a week, because I don't want us to feel like, you know, oh, I don't know what's going on here. It's too much, because we do need to kind of move slow. And move really thoughtfully, because how we design the process is literally, in my opinion, what we're trying to do here. I don't think we're trying to, correct me if I'm wrong, just want to jump into taking action, but rather we're trying to figure out the processes that are going to enable that action, which is a slower, more iterative, step-by-step kind of thing. And it requires us to be able to step into the unknown, be uncomfortable in this unknown space, but then just continue to show up to be like, yes, I know we need to figure out coordination. So we'll just keep showing up here to build these pieces and slowly design the process. Fortunately, a lot of the awesome people here, like George, who's stepping out, have spent decades, you know, working on these processes to help us. So that's kind of why they're here, to help also move this process along for us. So I think it'll be really valuable the next session that Jamaica and Caitlin are going to be able to share with us. So is that helpful as an overview?
Yeah.
Jamaica, is your hand still up or is it just haven't gone down yet? In which case, oh no, then I will pass it to Sydney.
Yeah, I just wrote in the chat, I think it would be great to create a form for those individuals who can't make these meetings, or if it's a weird time for their time zone, or who can't keep up with the Discord, so that in preparation for the next meeting, we can really get a real feel for what projects fulfill or semi-fulfill the criteria we're looking for, what that criteria is. And I mentioned in the chat that maybe even the results of those forms could start to score projects. And then I think each of us have our own skills and experience and background, or even companies that could provide a service. So to get a feel for that and just to aggregate a list, an Excel doc, and then of course get closer to using HIFA's DAO tools would be great. So I'm happy to support with that and collaborate with anyone who wants to. Neil?
You're muted.
Yeah, to speak to the scope idea, the DHO tool that HIFA is building, or DHOs and DOs are in general, are about defining a new culture, a new economy, a new currency. So if you're designing if you're building on the village scale or even a building scale, you want to do it for the whole thing, as big as you can get within your project, even the surrounding projects, if that's part of it. And then, so don't limit it towards fiat. Like, how much fiat can I get? Because when you're working with these tokenomics, fiat becomes secondary to all the other things you're not measuring, from caring to gratitude, towards spirituality, towards utility and governance. These are all things now that you're measuring that fiat never measures and never will measure. And so don't limit that scope to that, because it goes far beyond that.
And I have a proposal for us. And Neil, fantastic. Building on that, that's where the tools come in for us to then set up roles within Regen Civics itself and have different badges for acknowledging different ways of showing up here. So we get to kind of redesign what coordination at scale looks like. So anyway, that's what it's for. But before we get there, we have to be in this weird space of self-organization. And what I love and why I've invited each one of you is because I feel like you can get this, is that we know what the next step for us kind of is. Sydney, you're like, sensed, hey, we need a messaging platform out there so people could follow along better. My suggestion is for us to just do it and then show up and add that value, because when we come to set Regen Civics Alliance up, we're all going to show up and say, hey, we want to be part of this alliance. And people might make their opinions on whether or not to accept you based on everything you've done to help us get to that point. So this is us kind of like applying to be part of this coordination mechanism together. Is just, let's show up, let's add value, let's work together, because we all can kind of sense how we can show up and add value. Let's use that email thread to say, this is the work stream I would like to do. So we're not duplicating efforts. We can tell if someone else is doing something and join them. And let's just go through that murky phase of self-organization and trying to figure out the next steps. Again, Jamaica and Caitlin are going to help us next week with this, I believe. But this is just kind of the general frame to help us get going. Let's just show up, add value, and kind of model what that looks like to do that on an ecosystem level, because deep down, we all know we need to coordinate and collaborate in order to make this happen. So we have to kind of test what that looks like in this new culture, and then build the tools on top of that, because it's so important for the tools to be supporting us what we really want to do, rather than trying to shoehorn us into another coordination technology that's not necessarily right. So I think that's really good timing, that the do tools will probably be coming online after we've gone through the process of crystallizing what we want. And then we just reflect that into the tools rather than the other way around. Does that make sense? So we're going to be designing our coordination structure on paper for the next couple of weeks, or however long it takes, because then on paper, we just change it real quick. It's easy to edit. And then after we found that out, we'll actually form our alliance and go through a call just like this, where we use consent to be like, yep, I'll start off because it has to start somewhere. So it starts super centralized. It starts with me, and I say, hey, I propose Mark to be the next member of this. I vote yes, cool, now Mark's part of it. Now me and Mark then use consent to vote on the next member and the next member and the next, and we use that process to form the initial core team. So that's what it looks like for the next, kind of few steps. In my opinion, I'll pause there for any types of reflections, thoughts, add-ons, whatever we got. Maybe just for a quick sense check. Are we quiet because thumbs up? Yes, we're on board. We get it. This just feels good. Or are we quiet because we don't understand and we want, and this is just seeming confusing? I'm just looking for feedback. So if you're waiting, please put your hand up. Yes. Jamaica.
I'm on board, and I think that it will help when we have some decided, even like a menu of decision making and sense making and like circular leadership tools, just to help us sort of know how to best sort of guide what I think. I really appreciate that you started this as like a healthy dictatorship, and I also think the birthing of a circle that creates agency of all of us to kind of like decision make and guide together is super important. So yes to the ad hocness, and I would almost encourage though that like as soon as we can kind of move ourselves into those patterns for healthy circular leadership, I recommend it. And I think people will then feel more agency to be like, let's kind of guide, you know, bring my piece and guide and join you, Reiki, and kind of where you feel agency because you've been holding it. So I just want to name that. And then even like a good decision-making tool that's so easy based on resonance principles that like helps understand where people are at is like, I'm totally aligned. I'm neutral. I may not be fully aligned, but I'd let it pass. Like I'm cool, it's fine. Or like I'm not actually aligned. And that resonance that allows us to say, okay, what's not feeling aligned? Let's go there and discuss and see if we can problem solve and solution together to bring it back up to at least a passable. It's like a super easy tactic to do digitally that just helps be like, where are we at? How are we good? Need to talk about it more. We're good to go. Just things like that that help us better sort of co-lead, I think would be really valuable. And I think I'll just bring some of that next week and we can play with it a little bit.
Nicholas.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to I think bring in and tagging along a little bit of what Mark was saying, and what's been discussed. Over the years, dealing with a lot of complexity in many of the different projects that I've done, I have realized and come to the conclusion that you know, there's different levels of this cognition, right? And cognition overload. And so I think one of the things that I have done over time or tried to do, like for example, sending an email to investors, right? I tried to just establish hierarchies of information where I would like make some of the parts of the email highlighted in red. And it's like, hey, if you only have 30 seconds, please read the red one. There's a ton more that is important, but like you can only tag in if you're willing or have the time. And so often happens to me that like, because of the many things that are in like, especially in busy days, right? I'm busy, they will send this. I ended up like spending an hour because it was so interesting, but I was like, I need 4 more hours to really understand this. Damn it, how do I do this? And so when you get to a point where you're a little overwhelmed by the too many things, people start checking out, and that might make you miss some really, really relevant people that you want here, and that might only have that like 10% of cognitive capacity to pay attention to this. So in general, what I have found in this is like there's a high level of complexity, and not only complexity into this system, but because it's also tagging along other systems like HIFA and other things. It's kind of like an endless rabbit hole of many things that are fascinating and that you want to know more. And so my suggestion would be that you find ways to have these two levels of information and also participation, where like, this is what you were saying, like the minimum that we need to do is this call a month and to just vote on these 2 things. And if you have time, there is this thing. And then if you have time, there's this thing. And also on the information that you need to read through to really understand the thing, right? It's like just offering the possibility to go deeper. We've been very clear that the going deeper is an option, so it doesn't feel overwhelming. I feel you're gonna have a lot of people here, like even people who are building villages, those especially, you know, if you're building in the land, their capacity to be online like gets reduced by like 100%. And it's like you end up like being in a land that maybe doesn't have full Wi-Fi, and you end up being able to spend a few hours a day and just like try to catch up with emails and like invoices and paying people. And so like we're living in a world, people are living very different realities. You know, some people are fully connected with good internet, like spending 10 hours a day on Zoom, and some people are like in building and all things. And so that would be my suggestion, that you guys try to like super simplify, color blue, and then like, you know, add more colors as you add information and participation. That will help engage more people.
I could take a shot at that right now, and then people can build on it. Very basic minimum commitment. Show up to some of these calls. You don't even have to show up to all of them. Watch the recordings, but go fill out the profile and the form. That's the very basic thing to be part of the alliance, is that needs to be filled out, because that's what we're going to use to actually analyze the proposals and who are going to be part of this alliance. So that's what I would suggest to do just for the next week, is just go out there and fill out your own profile. So that's what I would ask is the very basic minimum. If anyone has anything else to add or thoughts to that. And then we can just do this each week to say, here's like one little tiny thing we can do to move forward, and just focus on that each week. And if we're doing that in concert, then it'll be great.
Just to add as an example of how, you know, the example of how to make that simple, I spent during the call now like about 15 minutes just trying to find where I can edit the thing. And so the level of complexity to actually get there, look through like the menu, it's I know you've been there, you build it. For somebody that is just new to this, takes a good amount of minutes to just get there and understand how to edit and do the thing. Whereas if you do like a form, just a form where there's a link, it's simple, it's just clicking here. And perfect, super awesome. It's just like just simplifying the where to click for dummies. And I know it's like, this is lazy on our side. And so it's not a, hey, I want you to do the work for us. It's just giving you feedback on the other one. So you guys try to think about it from how when you're building. So it's just literally for dummies. Like sometimes we act like dummies. Like, thank you for the link.
Kelly and friends.
Hey guys, just a clarifying question. So I think I'm understanding, Nico, that was great advice. I think I'm understanding this is an incubator. The Regenerative Civics is an incubator designed to support regenerative villages ultimately, so we can all live together in harmony and change the world. However, that incubator isn't fully formed. So this call is about how do we form the incubator that then supports the communities. Is that correct?
Correct. So we are an alliance of organizations supporting communities. We're figuring out how we coordinate. And part of this process is also we're experimenting with creating what comes after the nation state. So nation states were really designed to coordinate large groups of people. We need to mirror that. So we're going through the process of, well, what do we do with the shared budget? You know, right now, nation states have a budget and they spend ass loads of money, sorry for my language, you know, spending military. If we really had a voice in the process of spending that budget, maybe we do something differently. So that's part of what the Alliance is doing is, you know, our main task as an alliance is to have a budget and then share it with our organizations and figure out how to meta coordinate with the lowest cognitive capacity. So, you know, that's actually at the very top of our, what are we doing here? If you come here, and I know this is a lot, but I really tried to just make this exactly what we needed. But this is what we're at, is seeking low cognitive and time demand. It's right at the top of what we're trying to do, because we know everyone who's out there doing systems change, we don't have a lot of time. So we need to figure out the protocols where we can coordinate without asking too much of people. And then the other things we're doing is like shared fundraising, shared storytelling, so that we can be more effective as well. Every one of our organizations making a new pitch deck, explaining the problem, explaining why we need to create a new village. There are 300 of those out there. Why? You know, we only needed 5 good ones, you know? So this is what the other thing we're trying to coordinate on to actually save us time. Is what's the minimum time demand we can ask of each other to then coordinate to save us a lot more time and effort on everything we're trying to do. So it's kind of the task we're here to do. So we have to be very salient and aware of, are we not being effective? Is this taking too much of our time? Are we not moving forward, and constantly have that at the forefront? You know, along with that, there's one more thing, and I know I'm doing cognitive overload, bear with me, is then introducing seasons. So you talked about the land stewards who are on the ground doing earth regeneration. You know, that should be and could be, let me get rid of my judgment, all of us. So let's bake that into our seasons. Let's say one season is we're out there doing the internet work and being online. Then one season we're actually out there getting hands dirty, growing and planting, regenerating, right? Then one season we're actually in our village doing village stuff, etc. So we need to be cognizant about how we're coordinating so that we're not having burnout. So we're not asking too much of each other too. So that's kind of the other thing we're trying to accomplish here, or at least what I'm trying to accomplish. I'll pause there. The final thing, I guess, to leave it all with is let me know what here is too much information. Because if you come here and you feel like this is too much, then it failed. So, you know, please, you have the edit opportunity, you know, propose to get rid of sections if you feel they're redundant, or organize this in a more coherent fashion. All of that is stuff that we can do together to use our collective intelligence to help meet our goals together. Anyway, those are my feedback. Again, I'll pause and let anyone speak that would like to.
Yeah. Reiki, I'd love just to echo that. I think you've done an awesome job here, Reiki. Just big hat tip, I'm sure, from all of us. And I think that's going to this point of purpose. I think it's in my kind of summary, it's about the connective tissue. It's about the more intelligent ecosystem that connects these land-based projects. And so that seems the next kind of sprint for us, is to build coherence in the networked ecosystem of different offerings that we can stack together in a way that can deliver on what you just described. So excited for that next step.
I think with a lot of these things, and greetings, beautiful work, Reiki. Good to see you, Lucian. It's about taking and translating complexity into simplicity the best way we can. And that's really our ultimate job. And I think the reason why we're spending so much time coordinating and being in research projects is because we, as core team members who are dedicated and committed, need to be able to translate complexity into simplicity. So once we have gone through complex processes, it's the only way we can distill actual solution architectures that are feasible and that are easy. And I really commend the work you've done on that, on the HyperDAO mainframe, because again, that's a really great UI UX to translate complexity into simplicity. Now, how to create engaged usership, and how to create staged introductions, how to onboard through stages, I think is really important. I think where I see a lot of DAOs, especially right now, missing the boat is understanding staging, and understanding that there's different levels of people who are playing at different levels of circle, and we're in a set of nested circles, and those nested circles need to have like a way in and a way out in a meaningful way. And that on-ramping is not just like, here's a 600-page guide and go read the whole thing. It's like, how do you stage people in one piece at a time? How do you take being like, hey, all you need to do is be able to click this button and you're in here and now you can make a decision. Hey guys, check it out. You have one decision to make. You make one decision, you make one vote, and then you get your first badge. And this is the thing that gamification has done really well. So I believe if we can take the simplicity of gamification design without making it exploitative or manipulative, but using the frameworks that understand the different personality types that engage at different levels of process, we win. And this is what Yukai Cho really laid out well in his Octalysis framework. He really laid this out well, because he said early adopters are explorers, and I'm happy to send this whole map. And explorers have a very different type of relationality to a project than people who will come a little bit later in the game. And we need to understand that psychology and what draws people into participating in those ecosystems really early. Because I have no doubt that we can distill complexity, but we need to make sure that we're onboarding in, I think, the cleanest way possible. Just a couple of my thoughts.
And to build on that, that's what I would love to actually build into our do, is use that process and have those roles. Have roles based on your human design and how you'd like to show up, right? And you actually bake that into the structure. So 100%, so many yeses to what you shared there. In addition, it's also a self-reinforcing mechanism, meaning when people show up, meaning when we're at the DNA phase of designing an organization, that is the highest complexity. So having the filter where only people who really care about highest complexity are the ones that stick around is actually kind of a benefit. It's just the stage that we're at. But then the next one is, how do you actually, stage it so you can grow up? But anyway, the last piece I'd like to leave us with is I forgot, so I will shut up. If anyone else has anything to add.
Yeah, I just shared a link in the chat that apparently not everyone here has access to, that's listing the criteria that we're seeking in these projects. And I also feel like it would be great for anyone who's interested to share what criteria they personally think we should be looking for. So that's like a collaborative process. And then we could just add that to a basic Google form, and we can all just start to check the boxes that apply, which could automatically score the projects and narrow them down. And I'm not sure why that link wasn't working.
The link to be an invite's not working?
I posted the link to the criteria that you listed that we're looking for in the 12 projects. I'll post it again, but apparently not everyone can see it.
Oh, you can only see that if you've already clicked on the invite link, which I'm going to have right here.
Oh, okay.
So everyone click on this invite link, and then you can be an editor, and then you get to see the editing pages. Okay, Tucker, and we've got 10 more minutes staged for this call, so let's actually be within our time window today. Just facilitate. Tucker.
Just while we're on the topic of criteria, I was kind of curious what everybody was imagining for the models of the 10 different uses of capital, 10 different forms of capital. Are you looking for like what we plan to do with those 10 different forms of capital and the like what we already have as far as that goes? Or are you looking for more of like a broader model of how we kind of value the different 10 forms of capital in our village's economy?
Just for me to respond to that, and then please anyone else, I'm talking the 10 forms as far as the crowd pooling is concerned. So this is a project catalyst comes together and they get to say all of the forms of capital that's needed. We've kind of broken ourselves in the world where people all think they need money and we limit ourselves. Like we actually don't need money at all. What we need is food and work, or there's a million other things we need. Money is just the medium that helps us get that sometimes. So we're actually getting down to the first principles where a project gets to show up and say, hey, we need cultural capital. We need people who understand community building. That's a resource and we need it. We need land. We need a role to show up and plant gardens, So they actually get to go through and say all of the 10 forms of capital that they're looking for the project to be successful, which then opens us up to an entirely new world of who gets to decide where humanity goes. Because something that's missing today is bankers decide where humanity goes, because bankers decide what gets funded. Everyone out there's a permaculturist, they're like, okay, I want this project, but I need $100,000 to do it. So I'm either going to get a loan or an investment. So we said people who give loans or investments are the only ones who get to decide what gets funded, i.e. where humanity progresses towards. So we want to break that down. Everyone has capital to provide. People with land that don't want to sell it, people with time that want to show up to a project, wisdom, whatever. So then everyone gets a voice in how we progress rather than just people with money. So that's kind of the concept behind the 10 forms.
Thank you. Yeah, I was definitely overcomplicating that.
Anyone else with any thoughts, wisdom, anything to share?
Yeah, if I might say one more thing, I feel like I've shared a lot, but something that's critical as I'm maybe offering a piece of advice to a group that proposes to be an incubator of regenerative communities, as a somebody who's working on developing a regenerative community, and amongst our team. A key piece that's missing in the regenerative movement, and some of you might have already thought a lot about this, is decentralized mortgage lending. So something that's not a traditional bank that offers loans for home buyers to purchase internationally, which is where most of these projects are, not in the United States. I've spoken to many mortgage lending companies, and they almost all say they won't touch international lending, or it's based on credit score. And sometimes there's people that have a lot of they have an income, but they don't have a credit score, but they share the vision. And so it would be much more accessible and would make us not just have to create a rich white person community if we had access to a team that tokenizes the mortgage lending process by selling tokens and using the funds to issue mortgages to accredited home buyers, however they decided that. So if anybody knows of that team, let me know. Or if not, then I'm happy to plant that seed in your brains, because it would be an enormous opportunity to support regenerative communities with a real challenge that's happening right now, without feeding the banks more.
I don't know of any projects that have successfully created that platform. I know of some people working on it, and I've kind of thought through it a little bit, but I think that using a trust and then tokenizing the equity of that trust and breaking up amongst the people in the community, and then leveraging those equity tokens to get a crypto loan. So instead of one community getting one mortgage for the whole property, it would be every member of the community sort of leveraging their equity in the property for a loan that they can then use to kind of crowd fund. So I think once we figure out how to leverage our equity in a more decentralized way, rather than going through traditional mortgages and having liens on the property and stuff, I think that'll open up a lot of opportunities for us.
I also wanted to highlight the what Reiki was saying about the other forms of capital, right? I've been in a lot of conversations now with a lot of landowners who want to gift land. They want to gift land to the right people. And I think if you can truly represent the Dharma of what's being represented here, like the true Dharma, I think that if we're going to create a new economic system, truly, it has to be in the spirit of the gift. And the gift of land is probably one of the greatest gifts that can be given, because it actually spawns all the other gifts, because entrepreneurship plus, raw land, raw materials equals capital, right? And so I do believe that if we can seeds the blueprint and allow for the 12 pieces to be gifts, it'll allow us to spawn an entirely new economic engine. And I just want to posit that as a possibility, because I think mortgage is decentralized or centralized, falls you back into that same spiral of debt. And we have to reimagine systemic architecture, even at that level, even in capital money flow, to understand that the right to live on land is a fundamental right, and that there's other forms of capital that we can continue to regenerate to quote unquote pay for our place. Just another thought.
Funny, my organization. Oh,
So I'm
sorry.
going to play facilitator because Caitlin was going to jump in and she didn't raise her hand. Because Caitlin's been working on a lot of these models and open impact. And I would actually love for you to just show that off for like 2 minutes, because it's a huge coordinating tool. And I think people will kind of see everything that you guys have been up to, and the picture will come together. So if I could pass it to you to do that, if I'm not putting you on the spot, that'd be awesome.
Oh, I get put on the spot all the time. Sure. Let me just pop into a quick share. I'm going to, for context, I'm going to share our demo version just because it shows a handful of features that we're rolling out in the next couple of months. So we can cast a bit more of a holistic vision here. And then I can always hop in. I'll put some resources into some of our shared library that we're populating that has some shorter demos or a snapshot of where we are now. But the general premise, just to touch on some of the items that came up in today's conversation, what we're looking to solve for here kind of extends across one, how do we capacity build those who are already doing so that they can do more effectively, so that they can organize in these many-to-many patterns that are non-hierarchical. And so what does it look like to empower an on-the-ground effort to be in a group for their organization, but also to be in a group of other organizations within their bioregion or other projects along a particular topic. So that's one core piece of the organizing pattern we've been looking to support. And so happy to support kind of the creation of project profiles that follow that sort of organizing pattern. The second piece I'll nod to that we've been working on that came up here was, what does it look like to facilitate some of these multi-capital value exchanges, as well as match folks with kind of the right skills or knowledge? And so where we've started, right now I'm showing kind of our project marketplace, but the general premise is that folks can set up projects that have their own profiles, and people set up their own profiles too, so that we can start to better kind of allow the network to see itself. And so folks can tag their profiles with what skills they have on offer, what knowledge they might be willing to share, and find one another based on the same to connect and work on shared efforts. Over time, we imagine this will evolve to include things like skills-based training and badges, and really excited to collaborate towards that. But this is kind of where we've started. So there's a basic marketplace that helps folks to find one another, to work together on shared projects. Before I dive into some of the juicy stuff related to project coordination, I'll also just quickly share some of our more global stuff. Again, this is a demo, so pardon the dummy text here, but this is, we have real-time messaging. And then lastly, I'll share quickly related to funding projects. We have a deeper model that I can just share more on the site related to regeneratively funding projects, their interactions with existing capital markets and all of that. But to start, we allow for better, more equitable, really discoverability of existing efforts by allowing donations to be distributed across a basket of projects rather than funding favoring, who has the right relationships or who has the right access. And so it works as simply as I can say, I want to give $250, click give, and we can distribute that through a single checkout across a basket of efforts. But where really I think we see a lot of relevance to this current shared effort is this ability to start to index these shared projects, collaborate on them, but then have kind of that funding and measurement happen within the same place. So you're not kind of juggling across all these different contexts. And so the super quick lay of the land, and then again, I'll just drop a demo into our shared library. is that projects or groups can share an overview, so they can have kind of like their own version of a crowdfunding page. And so this could solve, folks orienting to other projects within a group rather than needing to do necessarily intros every time, which is something else that came up earlier. And then we can have a snapshot of kind of how it's going and what they currently need. And so again, that doesn't necessarily need to be continually verbalized. We can have sort of a view of that in real time. We then allow folks to dive into direct kind of process and task management on shared efforts, everything from kind of logging volunteer hours to mentorship. And we do have an internal token that's able to track those contributions and reward them. And then this is all kind of contextualized within knowledge sharing. So how can we advance these best practices together through things like shared news feeds and discussions? And so that's the super quick kind of at least intro to what we've been up to. The last very essential piece I'll share is that projects are also able to set measurable goals at their outset. And whether it's through direct inputs, whether it's through kind of IoT or partnership with more specialized platforms, such as for things like soil health or precipitation, we're able to measure the real-time efforts. And we're looking at this not just sort of in an extractive kind of quantitative lens, but through also qualitative inputs and ensuring that all impact is community verified, community validated, and that we can reward community members for validating impact. So that's the quick, at least, taste of what we're up to, and happy to offer any and all of this to this group as it emerges as helpful to coordinate and kind of index our respective projects, and also help facilitate some of both the fundraising and multi-capital value exchange.
Impressive.
So epic. Neil.
I'm just curious if Caitlin, if you and Reiki have talked about how these two can integrate with each other, the HIFA tool and this tool, and how that looks.
There's actually a really epic video that I'm gonna upload when I get some time, which I'll find, and share with you all. That is actually, it's them going over that, us going over the do, and talking about ways we can overlap and not be redundant. And so far, it looks like they're just two completely synergistic tools that together really help form the foundation of coordinating this new economic system, which doesn't surprise me. And that's everyone here. We all represent a different piece that when we plug it together, it's like, okay, we have everything we need. Now let's get practical, which is again what this alliance is about. Okay, so we're already 2 minutes over. John, you had something, Tucker, you had something, and then let's close today and respect the boundary.
Yeah, I just want to ask Caitlin to please post the link to the website she was just showing us. Okay, that's all.
And then I just wanted to finish my thought on what was being said about having people kind of donate the land into a project like this. So my project Tioga is doing something like this with generational landowners up here. And we're working with this older woman right now who owns like about 113 acres, and it's like a sheep farm. And so we're setting up this 3-phase process where we're getting a little bit of a catalyst hub set up there, getting some people there to like kind of work on some of her infrastructure projects. And then phase 2 would be like preparing her spot for retirement. And then phase 3 would be like basically her granting the land into a land trust for the community with the intention of the community kind of taking care of her through her retirement. So there's some really cool stuff that you can do with that with land trusts. So just keep your options open for sure.
I love that. And one of the projects that's we're working really closely with what might be part of the 12, got their land donated to them from that same thing. The landowner, it's incredible property, but she had this vision that she was meant to give this land to a regenerative project. And she was just waiting. And then he showed up and she's like, oh, you're exactly who I was waiting for. Yes, here's the land. There probably is a lot of that. So let's build a template for it. I would suggest that being one of the 12 different projects, just to remind us all, the 12 different projects are meant to be culturally diverse and impact diverse. So we evolved from regenerative villages to regenerative civics to say, actually, there's a lot of regenerative impact projects that we could do. Let's coordinate and organize a diversity of them and showcase what's possible. So that's really kind of, I think, another big thing we're doing here is showcasing change and telling that narrative of what's possible. So rather than the narrative again being about breakdown and everything's failing, we have the narrative being actually, no, everything's regenerating. Here's all the different projects, and here it's all open source. You can do it too. And here's the on-ramps for you to be able to coordinate and be part of systemic change. So I think that's kind of the overarching theme of this alliance as well, to be able to be that meta coordination for the transition. Does anyone else have anything else they're feeling really like they want to share before we close today?
Just a reminder to share the link, Reiki, that you mentioned.
I think I shared all the links already. So go to the chat right now. There's one that says invite. I'll share that one more time.
The link to the video integrating your work.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Once I upload it, I'll share that link in the Discord and the Telegram. Actually, I'll share it as an email, a couple of links to some calls that will be great for y'all if you want. Excellent. Then we actually went exactly the time because we started 5 minutes late, so we ended 5 minutes late. So perfect. So love you all. Thank you for your time today, and we will see you all next week and in the Metaverse and the rest. Feel free to unmute and say random words as goodbye if you want.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.